All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining in with another episode of the Tony Blanco podcast. Today's episode is going to be about leadership. What's crazy is that I had a whole other video planned for today, and then I needed to charge my phone. So as my phone was charging and I'm going over the rough guideline for what I was going to speak about today, I see Think and Grow Rich sitting on my desk. So I grabbed it. I went to where I had my bookmark, and I stumbled across this passage that it's just so incredible. I decided to make today's video about it. It's about leadership. And we're going to be talking about the major attributes of leadership. We're also going to be talking about the 10 major causes of failure in leadership. This is a very important topic because in any organization, any team, any group, you have the leader. And the leader isn't always a good one. You know, at your job, you have a boss or you have a manager, and he may be good, she may be good, but they may not be that good. And I've seen that time and time again. Okay, we're not going to get too personal here unless you want to. Then I'll give you the real personal examples. But let's start first and foremost by talking about Messi. So I figured who else better to wear a shirt than of Messi, right? Check out my back. I don't know if you see it backwards, but this is a Messi Inter Miami jersey. And I believe that it's super important to wear during this video about leadership because I'm Argentine. I love Messi. He's one of our heroes, right? And he just won the World Cup in 2022. He's been playing for more or less 20 years, okay? Since he's like 17, 18 years old. But he never won a World Cup. And time again, it was this grand spectacle that Messi's finally going to win us the World Cup. And after damn near 20 years, we just stopped hoping. You know, we cried so many times, us fans of Argentina. We watched our team get beaten. We watched our team get so far and then boom, lost again. And at a certain point, you just stop thinking, you know, that this is actually going to happen. Then in 2022, at 36 or 37 years old, this guy went and won the World Cup. Not only that, but he's won the Copa America. He's won so many other grand trophies at this point in time. At an age where most other players are retiring or they're hitting the age where they're getting slow, you know, but not him, not Messi. And what I gathered from that is that when he was younger and he was seen as the next prodigy, like the next big thing, he had a team full of older people, and the teammates looked at him like, you know, here's this young guy, here's this, kid that's supposed to be the next Maradona, the next prodigy, the god of football, you know, and it's like, no way, we're not going to listen to this guy. And I don't know if this is true or not. Like, I wasn't in those rooms. I wasn't on the field. I don't know, you know, whether or not they actually disrespect him like that. But this is just what I'm thinking, that you have older guys that are looking at a young guy like, no way, like I'm not going to listen to this kid, you know, and they probably just wanted to do what they wanted to do. And they wanted to be the champion. They wanted to win, but they weren't willing to allow for this prodigy of football to go and be the leader. And he was only 18. He was only 20. He was only in his early 20s. And up until now that he's 35, 36, 37, that it's like, okay, now it makes more sense that he's actually in this position of leadership. The thing is, leaders are typically born leaders, right? You could learn how to lead more efficiently. You could learn how to lead more effectively. You have to grow to be put into a position, put yourself into a position of leadership. But like right now, I'm a bartender and a server. When I walk through the restaurant, people stop me and they're like, hey, excuse me, sir, are you the manager? And I smile every time. I'm like, what makes you say that? They're like, oh, you look important. The way you carry yourself is different. The way you interact with the guests is different. They think I'm the manager. Now, luckily, I'm not, because from what I understand, the bartenders and the servers are doing better off financially than the managers, which is kind of a messed up system, right? But every industry is different. But it's kind of like sales. You got the sales guy that can make an unlimited amount of money. Then you got the managers that aren't making that unlimited amount because they're not being paid commission or tips. I talk about tips and commissions in other videos, so we'll talk about that another time if you want to revisit that topic. I love talking about money too, so that's something we could definitely talk about. But I thought that Messi would be interesting to bring up for this topic on leadership, because now He is surrounded by younger players, and they all grew up watching him. They all aspire to be like him. Even when he wasn't the champion yet, he was surrounded by these young kids now that they're looking at him and they're willing to accept that leadership. They're willing to listen to him and do what they have to do. And look at that. They became world champions for the third time in history. Okay? Last time was like 42 years before 2022. So, boom. You got Messi when he was young. The team was older. They didn't want to listen to the young guy. Then you have him becoming a leader, and now his team is actually world champions. So without much further ado, let's get into this. Major attributes of leadership. 1, unwavering courage, based upon knowledge of self and of one's occupation. No follower wishes to be dominated by a leader who lacks self-confidence and courage. No intelligent follower will be dominated by such a leader very long. And I could say that, 100%. There's leaders and there's followers, but there's also intelligent followers who go on to become great leaders, okay? And with few exceptions, the man who cannot follow a leader intelligently cannot become an efficient leader. So to be a leader, you do have to be a follower at some point, but an intelligent follower. And my whole goal in life is entrepreneurial endeavors. This is why I have a YouTube channel. This is why I make music. This is why, I do massage therapy. This is why I do things outside of this little job that I have as a bartender, getting paid in somebody else's organization. It doesn't give me fulfillment. I could be making so much money as a bartender and it still wouldn't change my life goals. My life goals is to have my own thing, because I don't want to be a follower. You have to make a conscious decision to be a follower or a leader. And to be a leader, you must first be an intelligent follower. And that's a key thing here. No intelligent follower will be dominated by such a leader very long. Unwavering courage. My father, when there was a noise in our house in rural PA, bro, he would be wearing just underwear and he would go and see what that sound was. It could have been a freaking crackhead. It could have been an animal. It could have been anything. And he was willing to go see what it was. And me as a kid, I watched my dad do that and I would walk behind him because I care about him and I don't want him to go alone. But he was the leader. And I was like, wow. Now, when I hear a noise or something needs to be addressed, I jump up and I go see it and I go look and I go address it. Because my father taught me that. Unwavering courage. You got to be brave, or else your followers will always look at you and think, wow, he wasn't brave enough to stand up. That's what I think about when situations happen in which you got to say something. You got to stand up. You got to do something. If I don't do it, then the people who I lead will look at me funny. They will lose their confidence in my ability to lead. And I cannot risk that. You put yourself at the forefront. You address the situation. You stand up. You say what needs to be said when it needs to be said. That way, your people will have trust in your ability to lead, in your courage, in your bravery. Number 2 is self-control. The man who cannot control himself can never control others. Self-control sets a mighty example for one's followers, which the more intelligent will emulate. Huge, 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 huge. For years, I gave in to my worldly desires. Drinking, smoking, lust. And I'm not perfect. There's still things that I need to address within myself. But as a matter of fact, I am addressing those very things. As we speak, I'm almost 2 months. I'm a month and a half without alcohol. Again, I'm not saying that alcohol is evil. Some people could have a drink or two. Me, I know I can't. I lacked self-control for too long. And now, self-control, discipline, self-motivation, these are things that are extremely important to me. And that was based on a decision that I made, thinking about who I want to become, who I want to be, what I want to represent. And if you lack self-control, people are going to look at you funny. They will doubt your ability to lead. Another example. Years ago, I worked for this guy. He always had gout. He was always eating way too much. He was so out of shape. Always smoking, always eating, burping, farting, all these things. Like, dude, you're supposed to be our leader. We can't take you seriously. You know, and he would act irate. All these things. I mean, we're going to keep going because there's so many things that when I mention, you're going to think of a bad leader that you've dealt with or are dealing with right now. Or you're going to think about a very good one. A person that you look up to and respect. And you're like, wow, this person deserves that spot of leadership. Very, very few. Very few. So when this person, you know, being out of shape and not taking care of himself, how is he supposed to lead me? I can't respect a guy like that. I can't look up to a guy like that. I can't listen to what a guy like that is telling me about how to live my life. Yeah, he's the one writing my paychecks. And so I had to do what I had to do in the moment. But it was only a matter of time until when I quit, it was because enough was enough. I didn't put in no 2 weeks. I said enough is enough. It had gone beyond the point. I should have left a long time ago. But one day I just got up and I decided, I was like, let's talk privately. We went into his office. And he liked to, you know, be towering over you. He was a big, tall, big dude. And you know, he would like to make people feel lesser than him. So I was looking up physically because the dude was much taller. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm out. You know, thank you for the opportunity, but I'm leaving. And he was like, oh, come on, you got to put your 2 weeks. And I said, no, I'm done. Thank you. I'm not making a scene in front of everybody, but I'm out. He said, okay, I appreciate that you're not, you know, doing this in front of everybody. Finish the day like a normal person, and then you're good. I said, all right, I'll give that to you. Because I really didn't want to make a scene. You know, like I said, you're either a born leader or you're not. And you could learn. Like I said, you could learn how to be a leader, I suppose. But this is coming from me. I've always been a born leader. And there are things that I need to work on, like I said, about myself to be the leader. And I'm dedicated. I'm motivated, baby. It's all good. Let's do this. I can't wait for who I'm going to be in 6 months from now. I can't wait to see who I'm going to be in even a month from now. I'm going to be 29 at the end of May. I'm excited. I'm getting older, yeah, but older, more wisdom, more strength. I'm entering my prime, bro. For real. A keen sense of justice is number 3. Without a sense of fairness and justice, no leader can command and retain the respect of his followers. Gotta be just. It's like that saying goes. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. But when things are fair, when a leader recognizes what is fair, truly fair, people look up to him. People respect him. And let me explain something to you. Justice and fair, they're not necessarily subjective, but they're definitely not about everybody's the same. We are not the same. The person who works harder, the person who gets better results, you understand? The person who gets stuff done, they deserve more. The person who slacks off, the person who doesn't get results, the person who causes more mess ups than actual progress, they don't deserve more. If everybody's getting paid equal, that's not fair. If the person who's slacking off and not getting any results is getting paid more than the person who's doing the most and bringing the most results, that is not fair. A leader needs to be able to recognize who's doing the most, boost them up, help them get what they need and want out of life, and keep the progress going. And notice where the weak links are and cut off the weak link. You're only as strong as your weakest link. Life isn't fair, but a leader who is just, that's what I'm talking about. Number 4, definiteness of decision. The man who wavers in his decision shows that he is not sure of himself. He cannot lead others successfully. The word decision means to cut off. People who choose things, they make a choice, then they go back on their choice. They don't get very far. And I would know. I've gone back on my decisions. I've went back on my choices and changed my choice. And then I didn't make that much progress. And then once I wasn't making that much progress, I switched over to something else. And then boom, another shiny object. And then I switched over to something else. But another big thing about what I'm talking about with self-control is definiteness of decision. I made a decision, now I have to stick to it. I made a commitment, I made a decision. Now, I'm not one of those people who say you should never, ever, 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 ever quit nothing. Successful people recognize when they need to cut their losses. That's different. But don't feel so comfortable to just drop things. Don't feel so comfortable to just quit. Nah, a winner's gotta win, bro. A quitter never wins and a winner never quits. They might have to let go of something that's not working, but they need that definiteness of purpose, that definiteness of planning and understanding what's the next step. It's not, oh, this is too hard, I quit. Nah. You could quit if it's like, yo, this is not in alignment with my purpose at all. Or yo, this doesn't feel right. Something about this is off. You know, this is karmically bad. Okay, then you could quit. If it's not in alignment with you and your purpose. But other than that, you make a decision because you thought about that decision. Take a good amount of time to make a decision and then stick to it. And take even longer to decide whether or not you want to keep going with it or you want to leave. We all have tough days, but if we can make it through the tough day, recognize that the next day will more than likely be better. Yesterday, I was learning so much at school, I felt frustrated afterwards. My brain felt drained. And today, those same topics that yesterday were frustrating me, I was answering questions, rapid fire, man. This stuff was coming to me. You gotta have patience with yourself. What if I just quit yesterday? Nah, ain't gonna happen. Give yourself time, be patient. Make a definite decision and stick to it. Number 5, definiteness of plans. The successful leader must plan his work and work his plan. A leader who moves by guesswork without practical definite plans is comparable to a ship without a rudder. Sooner or later, he will land on the rocks. I agree with this too. Because although I'm getting better, much better at being a better leader and building the things that I want to build, back to that shiny object syndrome that I was suffering from for so long, I didn't make much progress. And so I believe in this right here. You need to have definiteness of your plans. Life is like a chessboard. You got to plan your next couple steps. Number 6, the habit of doing more than paid for. One of the penalties of leadership is the necessity of willingness upon the part of the leader to do more than he requires of his followers. My father taught me that too. He taught me more specifically, leave things better off than when you found them. And when I moved back home, I had been working for that guy that I told you about. That was a very shitty leader. And then I had adopted some of these shitty habits because you are who you spend the most time with. So when I went back to work with my father, we were doing something and I said, Dad, just leave it like that. They'll never even know. And he didn't get upset. He didn't get out of character, which, you know, is pretty part of who my dad is. Like, we've known him to freak out and scream and this and that, but it was almost ominous, or it was almost ominous of how he didn't get out of character in that moment. He didn't berate me or belittle me. He said, no, you got to leave things better off than when you found it. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. Because what we were doing in particular was, like a part of construction that was like behind the wall or on top of a roof or whatever. I'm not going to get too specific with it, but it was in a part of the house where nobody would ever see it. But he saw it. And it was part of his self-image to do more than what he was getting paid for, to leave things better off than how he found them. That stuck with me and will stick with me forever. And hopefully I could teach other people about that. Number 7, a pleasing personality. No slovenly, careless person can become a successful leader. Leadership calls for respect. Followers will not respect a leader who does not grade high on all of the factors of a pleasing personality. Man, I think it's crazy how this turned into a podcast about my dad. My dad is not a perfect human being. None of us are. But he taught me a lot about being a good leader. And he has a pleasing personality. The reason why I say had is because when I was a child, I really recognized it the most. You know, like people always used to say, oh, wow, you're so-and-so's son. Oh, my goodness. Wow, I love your father. And now I'm states away. I'm 1,000 miles away. So obviously it doesn't happen to this day. But I see on Facebook, you know, people calling him out in a very positive way, in a very positive manner, very happy about the work that he's done for them and recommending him, giving him referrals, word of mouth. You know, that's how his business thrives, is totally off referrals. He doesn't do any marketing. That's his top marketing, is referrals. And a pleasing personality, I hear him talk to his customers on the phone, and it's like he's a different person. He could be so angry about whatever's happening in the house and going through so much stuff in his personal life. But when a customer calls, he treats that customer like they are a long time family member or long time friend. You know, he talks to them with caring and compassion. So beautiful. And a pleasing personality is very, very, very important to being a leader. Number 8, sympathy and understanding. The successful leader must be in sympathy with his followers. Moreover, he must understand them and their problems. This is so important, to understand how to truly lead people. You want to know what drives people. You want to know what motivates people. And it's different for everybody across the board. Not everybody just wants to make the most money. Some people just want to be seen. Some people just want to be heard. Some people want not $1 million, but they want a bigger home for their wife and their 3 or 4 kids. They want to move from the city to a rural spot because they always wanted to, you know, live on a farm like they did when they visited their grandparents when they were 8 years old. Like, people have different motivations, and the ability to speak to somebody that is one of your followers, part of your organization, part of your team, and recognize what motivates them and help them to achieve what motivates them. Now we're talking about a real leader. Number 9, mastery of details. Successful leadership calls for mastery of details of the leader's position. Got to know the plan. You got to follow the plan. You got to know the details of the operation. The devil is in the details. Got to know those small things, you know? See the things that other people don't see. Number 10, willingness to assume full responsibility. The successful leader must be willing to assume responsibility for the mistakes and the shortcomings of his followers. If he tries to shift this responsibility, he will not remain the leader. If one of his followers makes a mistake and shows himself incompetent, the leader must consider that it is he who failed. Man, there is a leader in my life right now that refuses to take accountability for anything. And when things go wrong, he's right away looking to point blame at somebody. And it's so heartbreaking. You know, as somebody who's supposed to be following this person, when I see him do it, it breaks my heart. It makes me think, like, what am I doing here? Like, why? You know, it's like, I want to help him, but I mean, you can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped, right? And this person is driven more by ego than wanting to see people succeed and wanting to see even the organization exceed and achieve. You know, this person is more focused on their ego and having people, you know, follow what they say and this and that, even though he totally lacks accountability. And that's a shame. You know, you need to be able to assume full responsibility. If somebody that you're leading didn't do something correctly, maybe take into account that you didn't take the time to properly teach them or train them. Or maybe now you need to see this as a coaching opportunity, and you could speak to them, find out the root cause, and fix it. You understand? In entrepreneurship, from what I understand, if somebody in your organization does something that, is not like an immediately fireable offense, but it was like, a mess up that could be addressed, most of the time, if you speak to them about it, they will never do it again. You don't berate them. You don't belittle them. You talk to them. You see it as a coaching opportunity, and you walk through it with them. You retrain them on whatever it was in that moment that they messed up on. You help them for the future, okay? They'll never forget that moment that you were compassionate with them. You took the time to train them properly and to coach them properly. Number 11, cooperation. The successful leader must understand and apply the principle of cooperative effort and be able to induce his followers to do the same. Leadership calls for power, and power calls for cooperation. We work in cooperation. We are a team. It's not, I said it and so it is done. It is, we're a team. I'm going to cooperate with you. You cooperate with me. Let's make it happen. There are two forms of leadership. The first, and by far the most effective, is leadership by consent of and with the sympathy of the followers. The second is leadership by force, without the consent and sympathy of the followers. Like the people who lead by force, they don't last long. Men may follow the force leadership temporarily, but they will not do so willingly. And the moment that we see a weak spot, we're going to rebel. The moment that that person's karma actually catches up with them for leading by force instead of consent, somebody else is going to step into that leadership position. They're not going to be the leader for long. They're going to mess up the organization. They're going to, mess up the profits. They're going to get bad reviews. So many bad things are going to happen from bad leadership. And it will catch up with them. They won't be in that position forever. All right, 10 major causes of failure in leadership. We come now to the major faults of leaders who fail, because it is just as essential to know what not to do as it is to know what to do. Number 1, inability to organize details. Efficient leadership calls for ability to organize and to master details. No genuine leader is ever too busy to do anything which may be required of him in his capacity as leader. When a man, whether he is a leader or follower, admits that he is too busy to change his plans or to give attention to any emergency, he admits his inefficiency. The successful leader must be the master of all details connected with his position. That means, of course, that he must acquire the habit of relegating details to capable lieutenants. So you got to know what the job entails. You're the leader. You got to have people, chain of command, other people that you depend on for their leadership abilities. Yeah, they follow you, but other people follow them, and so on and so forth. You have to be able to delegate certain tasks to other people so that when an emergency shows up, you can address it. You can't be too busy to address the emergency. You can't be too busy to address whatever situation has come up that has to do with your position. You're the leader. Something happens in the organization, you need to address it. Number 2, unwillingness to render humble service. Truly great leaders are willing, when occasion demands, to perform any sort of labor which they would ask another to perform. The Bible says, "The greatest among ye shall be the servant of all." It is a truth which all able leaders observe and respect. It's reminiscent of that phrase, "Jack of all trades is a master of none." But it goes on to say something about how knowing a little bit about everything is better than being a master of one. That's really how it goes. So you have to understand every aspect of your organization and be able to render humble service, be able to jump in when somebody else isn't available to do so, be able to assist when somebody else in your organization isn't able to do so. And of course, you have your strong suits. Of course, you know what you're better at than others. And if there's something you absolutely can't do, but they need help. Got to be able to recognize somebody who can and fill that position real quick. You jump in and you help them the best that you can. Or you grab somebody who you think can help as fast as you can, as fast as they can. You understand? Number 3, expectation of pay for what they know instead of what they do with that which they know. Very simple, straight to the point. The world does not pay men for that which they know. It pays them for what they do or induce others to do. You could know a whole bunch of stuff. You could be one of the smartest people on earth, but if you are not doing with your knowledge or inducing others to do with your knowledge, then you will not get paid that much. You don't get paid for what you know. You get paid for what you do with what you know, or what you induce others to do with what you know. Number 4, fear of competition from followers. Ooh, that's important. Number 4, fear of competition from followers. The leader who fears that one of his followers may take his position is practically sure to realize that fear sooner or later. The able leader trains understudies to whom he may delegate at will any of the details of his position. Only in this way may a leader multiply himself and prepare himself to be at many places and give attention to many things at one time. It is an eternal truth that men receive more pay for their ability to get others to perform than they could possibly earn by their own efforts. An efficient leader may, through his knowledge of his job and the magnetism of his personality, greatly increase the efficiency of others and induce them to render more service and better service than they could render without his aid. So what does that mean in plain English? If you're scared that your followers are going to become the leaders one day, it's going to happen sooner than later. The real true leader replicates himself in others, helps to develop others so that he can be in more places than one, so that he can be omnipresent, so that he can be all over the place through his followers who follow him because they were studying him and respect him. They are his understudies, and he took the time to teach them what they need to know to be able to project him in more places than one. It is an eternal truth that men receive more pay for their ability to get others to perform than they could possibly earn by their own efforts. So important. An efficient leader may, through his knowledge of his job and the magnetism of his personality, greatly increase the efficiency of others and induce them to render more service and better service than they could render without his aid. Number 5, lack of imagination. You know what? Before we go into the next one, let me just wrap that one up with a thought that came to my mind. So fear of competition from followers. Listen, man, don't live in a scarcity mindset. Live in an abundant mindset. There's enough riches and abundancy for all of us to thrive. Okay, not just to survive, not just to maintain, but to build, to thrive, to have wealth, to live in abundance. Okay, so if you are living in a scarcity mindset, you're never going to teach others. You're never going to be a good leader. People will sense that, and they will one day leave you. Okay. So number 5, lack of imagination. Without imagination, the leader is incapable of meeting emergencies and of creating plans by which to guide his followers efficiently. Think outside the box, okay? Use your imagination. If you conceive it in the mind and you believe it with your heart, then you can achieve it in real life. Imagination is super important to building riches, to building wealth, to building business, to building a product, to building a service. You need to use your imagination to solving problems, to addressing emergencies, to speaking with people and coming up with solutions, finding out their motivations. Everything requires your imagination. Number 6, selfishness. The leader who claims all the honor for the work of his followers is sure to be met by resentment. You'll hate whoever is not giving you that praise, you know? The really great leader claims none of the honors. He is contented to see the honors, when there are any, go to his followers, because he knows that most men will work harder for commendation and recognition than they will for money alone. Back to the motivation, understanding your team's motives and the people that work for you and your followers, what actually motivates them in life. It's not money, bro. Money is a tool. It's a vehicle to get to where you want to get to achieve the things that you want to achieve. But money isn't the goal. Money is what will help you get there. It's what will help you achieve said thing. But your why. Why do you want money? What are you going to do with it? That's what it is right there. Most men will work harder for commendation and recognition than they will for money alone. Understand what motivates your team. Understand what motivates anybody. And you can get them to do. Number 7, intemperance. Followers do not respect an intemperate leader. Moreover, intemperance in any of its various forms destroys the endurance and the vitality of all who indulge in it. Oh man. Back to my father, like, he taught me so many good things. He also taught me what not to do. He's the type of dude that he'll have trouble screwing something in or like fixing something, and he'll start cursing and screaming and throwing a huge fit, and intemperance. Followers do not respect an intemperate leader. It's those things that made me kind of rebel against him as a teenager. Now I'm older and man, I want to see him live to 120, But when I was a teenager, it was like seeing those moments. I'm like, wow, like, why is Dad like this? You know what I mean? And so any leader, like, I'm sure there's a leader in your life that you could think of that they freak out, or you're more scared of their reactions. Their intemperance. They don't have a good self-control over their emotions, and nobody respects that. If you have self-control over your emotions, you are balanced, and you could address things properly, then people will respect you. Okay? Intemperance. There was something that came to my mind with that. That's okay. We'll keep it going. Number 8, disloyalty. Perhaps this should have come at the head of the list. The leader who is not loyal to his trust and to his associates, those above him and those below him, cannot long maintain his leadership. Disloyalty marks one as being less than the dust of the earth and brings down on one's head the contempt he deserves. Lack of loyalty is one of the major causes of failure in every walk of life. Yo, this guy was like, he must have had some sort of situation in his life where somebody was disloyal to him, because that was some strong wording in here. I mean, he said it should have been the number one thing. It should have been at the head of the list, right? So the leader should be loyal to his team. He should be loyal to the goal. He should be loyal to the people around him and to the people who he serves. Don't be disloyal. Number 9, emphasis of the authority of leadership. The efficient leader leads by encouraging and not by trying to instill fear in the hearts of his followers. The leader who tries to impress his followers with his authority comes within the category of leadership through force. If a leader is a real leader, he will have no need to advertise that fact except by his conduct, his sympathy, understanding, fairness, and a demonstration that he knows his job. You got somebody like, oh, I'm the boss. You follow what I say because I'm in charge. Bro, you're a fucking joke. That's what you are. Nobody respects you. It's about leading by example, leading by understanding people and demonstrating that you know how to lead properly. Number 10, emphasis of title. The competent leader requires no title to give him the respect of his followers. Like, I know I'm a leader. People ask me all the time if I'm the manager. People that I work with come to me and ask me, yo, Tony, how do I do this? Yo, Tony, I just did this. Yo, Tony, this just happened. They want leadership. They value real, true leadership, and they sense it within me. Even people who I've had like little altercations with, just because of how I handled the altercation in and of itself, they turn to me and they're like, yo, please help me with this. They don't even have to say those words. They'll bring me the problem and I bring the solution. I solve it. You understand? The man who makes too much over his title generally has little else to emphasize. Oh, I'm the leader. I'm the boss. You got to listen to me. I'm the manager. Shut the fuck up. The doors to the office of the real leader are open to all who wish to enter, and his working quarters are free from formality or ostentation, whatever that means. These are among the more common of the causes of failure in leadership. Any one of these faults is sufficient to induce failure. Study the list carefully if you aspire to leadership, and make sure that you are free of these faults. Man, what a good 40 minutes, bro. I read that once and I was like, I gotta make the video right now about this. And I just spent another 40 minutes teaching it. Remember, teaching something is actually how you learn something. So if there's something that you're learning, you're struggling with learning it, go ahead and teach somebody it. Have the book in your hand. Have your notes in your hand. Teach somebody. And that will help you really register it. You'll become a master at it before you know it, because you are teaching it. I want to thank you so much for your time today. I want to thank you so much for watching my video. And please, please, if you have the opportunity to practice understanding, compassion, and sympathy, do that. If you are in a leadership position, it's never too late to do the right thing. And you're watching, if you're this far, I know you are all about self-development. If you follow me, I know you care about being the best version of yourself. So I don't even have to tell you. You recognize faults within yourself. I recognize faults within myself. And we aspire to be greater and achieve more together. Self-awareness is key. Meditate, think. Think about what you could have done better in a situation. Don't point blame, take accountability. No matter what, take accountability. Because when you take accountability, you could do so much more. When you point the blame, you are taking the power away from you. If you recognize that you could have done more, you could have done something different and achieved a better outcome, that's where you will internalize that and know that next time something happens, you can go ahead and get a better outcome by having taken accountability. Much love to you. Until next time, peace.